was a bad catcher, but I was a really good hitter. So I've had to learn how to catch in the last 10 years as an adult. So I feel like I'm uniquely kind of positioned to help people learn how to catch, because I remember how I learned it, as opposed to if you learn when you're a kid, it sometimes seems like it's natural. So I guess the biggest thing for me when you're catching is to be comfortable, and there's no rules on ways that you have to do it. Some people will say you have to squat like this, or you have to throw like this, you have to catch the ball a certain way. To me, there's no rules. If it works for you and it feels more comfortable and you feel athletic, then that's the way you want to do it, because pitchers are throwing nasty pitches really fast, and you don't want to be trying to follow these rules on ways you have to do it, and battling your butt off to try to find a way to do it, and it doesn't feel comfortable. So I think I'd rather do kind of questions and answers from the start. If anyone has a question, just unmute yourself and chime in, and we can kind of get going on different questions that you guys have about catching.
No problem. So if you have questions, you can either raise your hand through the thing, and then we can call you out, or just like Ryan said, just jump in and try and talk. So
Ken Sachs has his hand up.
All right, Aaron. Aaron, there you go.
No,
Leo. It's Leo. All right, now we're doing catching, so it's Leo. All right, sorry. There you go, Leo.
how can you learn how to pitch in certain ways?
No, catching. He's a catcher.
Catch.
How can you learn to what?
To catch in certain ways.
How can you learn to catch in certain ways? I think the best way to do it is get down into your squat, pretend like it's a game, and have someone throw the ball at you, to you, as fast as they can. And if it's in the air, catch it. Try to make it look like a strike every time. So if you have let me back up here so you can see me. So if you're catching, someone throws the ball and you catch it, don't catch it and slap it away, or catch it, slap it away. Wherever it is, try to bring it back to a strike, no matter how you do it. If your knee falls down, that's okay. If you're in your squat the whole time, you can bring it up, bring it back towards the middle every time. That's okay, but don't just catch it and throw it back. But have someone throw the ball at you. If it's your brother, if it's your dad, if it's your friend, your mom, your sister, whatever, have them throw the ball. Even if you can't go outside right now because it's the coronavirus, have them flip it to you and catch it bare hand. The more you can practice, bring it back to the middle of your chest, wherever it is. Don't just catch it and throw it back, because then that looks bad. We always want to make it look good to the umpire. The other thing that I was thinking about last night when I knew we were going to do this talk, do you know why we frame the ball? Why does anyone raise their hand? Why do we frame the ball?
And where frame the ball. Put the ball back into the plate.
Oh, to get the runner and third out.
That's not why we frame it. Ruben Garcia over there. I see his hand up. Can we unmute him?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We frame the ball. So if it's a close strike, the umpire can call it a strike in your favor.
That's right. We're trying to trick the umpire here, right? When we frame the ball, essentially what we're doing is we're lying to the umpire, right? If the ball's over here, we want to trick the umpire that it was right here. Or if it's down here, we want to trick the umpire that it was really right here. So we want to be kind of subtle about it if we can, because nobody likes to be lied to, right? The umpire hates it if you're moving the ball from here to all the way over here. Nobody's going to like that. But we're trying to convince him that it was a little bit better than what he thought it was, and we really want to get that strike for our pitcher, because that'll help us win the game. So practice in your house. If you can, have someone flip it to you, and you could catch it bare hand, or if you can get outside, have them throw the ball to you, and just practice. I see Ido has his hand up. Ido. I don't know if that's your real name, but that's what it comes up on my screen as. Can somebody unmute him so he can talk? Or Ruben, you have a question, you can unmute again?
I have a question.
What's up?
What's it like bouncing around different teams, especially during the season?
I'm sorry?
What's it like bouncing around different teams, especially during the season?
Okay. So he asked, I'm sure you guys heard him. Last year I was on 4 different teams in the same season. The thing you realize is that once you get to professional baseball, your teammates are not necessarily your friends like they were in Little League and when you play in high school. So when you guys play, I bet your teammates are all your best friends, right? You guys think so? That was the same thing for me. My whole life when I was growing up, my teammates were all my best friends. But now that baseball is my job, now they're my coworkers. So it's a little bit different perspective. So last year I was on 4 different teams. That means I had over 100 different teammates. And I think that maybe by next year I won't remember some of their names. That's just kind of how it is. You play baseball because you want to win the game. I ended up the 4th team I was on last year, I ended up winning the championship. And it just happened that I got traded to a good team, and all you do is you play the best you can on whatever team you're on. But it just kind of changes when you get to pro ball that your teammates aren't necessarily your friends anymore, but all you got to do is play ball. I see Omer has a question.
Okay. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so what do you think is the hardest pitch to block and why?
The hardest pitch to block. So when you're catching, do your pitchers throw curveballs yet?
Yeah.
Okay, so a right-handed curveball is going to break this way. So as a catcher, you can anticipate that the ball's going to go and you have to block to this side, right? I think the hard one is when the pitcher accidentally launches it the wrong way and you're anticipating blocking this way and you have to change directions and then go back over this way. I think also fastballs are hard to block because normally you're trying to catch them as good as you can and frame them. And fastballs aren't supposed to bounce, but sometimes they do because pitchers are human beings. So those are hard too. The biggest thing with blocking is anticipation. If you call a pitch like a curveball, again, righty, be ready to block this way every time just in case because you can't let it get by you. That's your main job. If you anticipate, it's a little bit easier.
Okay.
I see Ken Sachs.
Has a question. Ken has a question. Let's go. Why doesn't it work? Wait. Trying to unmute him.
Go.
I have a question. What kind of exercises help to catch?
Like exercises like a workout.
Yeah, workout.
Body weight squats are good. Wall squats, you know what a wall squat is?
No.
Let me show you. Wall squat. Basically just pretend like you're sitting on a chair, but there's no chair underneath me, so you just sit here and your legs have to hold you up. And you could sit there, you could watch TV like this. You just have to build your leg strength so that when you get into your squat, it's easier.
I can do it without a wall.
What?
He said he could do it without the wall.
Do it without the wall? That's good too.
Yeah, he said he could do it. Yeah.
The biggest thing is when you're playing in the game.
I have one more question.
Okay, go.
If you don't get to the game in time, I should get to the game in time with my dad's the coach. But if I don't get to the game in time, and I usually got first, so and I don't stretch, what way can I stretch quicker?
Stretching the car on the way there. I don't know. That's my recurring nightmare is that I'm going to be late for the game. I never wanted to be late, so try to be on time if you can.
Okay.
Hey, what's up, Ryan?
What's up?
Good. A lot of catches here. If you were like a young catcher, what do you think is the most important part of the game? Is it your transfer? Is it your receiving? What would you take as the most important part of the game for a 16-year-old, 14-year-old?
So the lower the level, I think the more important it is just to catch the ball and try to stop the running game. Because how many times have you seen a guy gets on first base and then the next pitch he's on second, the next pitch he's on third, and then the ball gets by him and he scores? So for the younger players, I think the most important thing is just keep the ball in front of you. Don't let guys get free bases if you can. And then from there, I think the next most important thing is trying to throw runners out. Because the umpires are going to be bad anyway. So for me, the most important thing is stealing strikes because nobody steals anymore. And the ball, it's just kind of assumed that the ball is not going to get by me. But for the younger players, the most important thing is keeping the ball in front of you and not letting them get to the next base. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. And if you could talk a minute about your relationship with a pitcher, and like when you have a staff of 12, 13 pitchers, is that different with every single pitcher?
It's different every single pitcher because you have to know which pitchers are going to throw the ball wild, and you might have to dive this way, the one pitch, and jump over here the next pitch. And some pitchers are going to be right around your glove, and maybe they miss this far, and you could work more on stealing, or you could work more on throwing the ball instead of having to be ready to dive this way or that.
Just okay. Anybody else got a question? Ruben's got a question.
Yeah, all right. So I got two questions. So question one, I know Major League Baseball is thinking about having like robot umpires or having like a robot strike zone. How do you think that's going to affect like framing and catchers and all that?
So right now, the most important thing that I do is steal strikes, and that's how they rate catchers for professionals now. Is they have that laser. Have you seen the K zone on TV when they show exactly where the ball crossed home plate? So they have that way more advanced, and they can tell exactly how many strikes you stole every game, and that's how they rate catchers now for me. But if they go to the robo umpires, then that's not a thing anymore, and then now hitting will be more important again, throwing out runners will be more important again. So it'll kind of change how they value catchers.
Then my next question is, how long do you think it takes to develop into a good catcher? Like, the blocking balls, throwing out runners. How long do you think it takes to develop a good catcher?
I think it's ongoing. You have to, every new pitcher that you catch, you have to work on being able to catch that guy again. So some people will be more athletic, some people it'll be easier, and some people it's going to be a little bit harder. But you can never stop working. And once you get complacent, then you get lazy. I think you're always getting better or you're getting worse. You're never staying the same. So always try to get better.
Ryan, going back to the framing, what are kind of the things that you try to do in terms of framing? What's your mindset? How do you try to work on that? What are you looking to do?
Okay, so there's a few different ways to frame. I'll back up here so you can see me. One, the old school method is called the funnel. So you bring everything back towards your chest, no matter what, no matter where it is. That was the old way that I used to do it when I was in Little League. Then when I got to high school, it was to bring everything out in front of your chest. So no matter where it is, bring it this way. And then now what they're trying to work on for us is to catch the ball with our pocket down and just rotate our hand on our wrist so that they think that the umpire only sees this part of your arm. So you catch the low pitch, turn your hand, and it goes from down here to up here, and the umpire can't see the turn in the wrist. So there's really like 5 or 6 different ways you can catch the ball. But the important thing is what works for you. What do you feel most comfortable and athletic with? And as long as you're trying to make the pitch look better, it doesn't really matter how you do it as long as you're doing something.
Is there a way that right now at that, how you working at that at home? Like how you going to work at that? Trying like hold weighted balls or anything?
So I'm at the house. I have my wife here who played a little bit of softball, but she's not like a baseball coach. So I have her flip me the ball underhand sometimes, and no matter where it is, I'm catching it bare hand. And then sometimes I have her, since we have a backyard here, I have a little bit more space. She throws me the ball, and no matter where it is, I try to make it look good. It's not realistic. It's not like a pitch that a pitcher's going to throw me 95 miles per hour, but just practicing working those shoulder muscles, going up every time, do a little something just to keep active while you're doing it.
And if we want to dig a bit deeper for the kids, like if let's say this is the balls, your hand's tilted, you have a C shape. How should kids catch the ball?
It's like a wrist move. Also, so it's really the wrist. Think about turning a doorknob with the wrist.
That's a good info. That's
Doorknob. Also think about like you create this L with your fingers and then you give the L for loser. Right?
sounds
Because
good.
if you have your whole glove, then it's there and it's the L for loser. You bring it up. That's kind of how the visual makes
Interesting.
sense to me. My coach in spring training literally said L for loser is how you're trying to catch the ball with the two fingers.
This is with the Miami Marlins.
Yes.
Yeah. So now we got Liam wanted to ask a question here. We're gonna unmute him. He's gonna ask you something.
Yeah, I have two questions. You said earlier that like you've been on like many teams and there's many pitchers. So how like have you found it hard to like connect with the pitchers and therefore like they perform like worse or you perform worse?
Yeah, the first time that I catch a pitcher, I always feel like is the worst time that I catch him physically because I don't know what the pitches are going to do. So it's a little bit harder to anticipate, and I think anticipation is really important. I also sometimes think that mentally catching a pitcher for the first time is the best time that I do because I'm using my eyes to call the game. And I don't know if that makes sense. When a pitcher's throwing, sometimes his fastball is his best pitch, sometimes his curveball is his best pitch, sometimes his changeup is his best pitch, and every day, since we're human beings, it might be different. So when you use your eyeballs, you say, okay, well, the fastball's not that good today, we got to use more changeups, or the changeup's not very good, we got to throw more curveballs. But if you've caught a guy before and you know that 9 times out of 10 his curveball is his best pitch, you might call the curveball, and it might not be very good that day. Does that make sense? So you have to use your eyes. So when I don't know a guy, I sometimes feel like I recognize what's working better because I don't have any anticipation of what I think is going to be best. But physically it's harder because I don't know what each of the pitches is going to do, if that makes sense.
Now we got Ido. He's gonna ask a question now. We got Ido. Talk to us, Ido.
How hard is it to catch a foul ball that's in the air?
Foul ball in the air. Good question. If you know how to do it, it shouldn't be that hard. But if you don't know what you're doing, it's extremely hard. So when they hit a ball and it goes straight up, it has a lot of backspin. And the seams on the ball are creating air resistance, and it's going to curve in the air like someone had thrown a curveball. And it's always going to go back towards the pitching mound. No matter what, if it goes over there, it's going to come back this way. If it goes over there, it's going to come back this way. So no matter where you are, you want to get your back towards the pitching mound. And the hardest one to do is when it's a fair ball and you have to run out towards the pitching mound and then turn your back and keep it in front of you no matter what. Also, if you can keep your feet moving, even if you think you're right in the right spot, keep your feet moving a little bit. What's up, Shaloma? If you think you're in the right spot, keep your feet moving just a little bit so that you don't get stuck, because if your feet get planted, they get stuck like cement, and then it's really hard to get moving again.
Okay, also, Ryan, now we got a question from the chat. In a game, let's say later inning especially, who are you game calling? Is the coach, is the pitcher? Let's say when you put down sign a sequence, how would that work in a top high 10 situation? Okay,
so you guys see catchers look into the dugout for signs. We're looking into the dugout for signs only to see if we should throw pickoffs to the runner. So the coach calls pickoff, or sometimes they call a really long hold for the pitcher so they can throw off the base runner's timing, and sometimes they call slide step. But the catcher is always responsible for calling what pitch they're going to throw. Always, no matter what.
Does it matter if the pitcher shakes you off? Or like, do you know before? Do you have like a game plan before the game? Talk about that a bit.
Yeah, well, so the pitcher can say yes or no at the end of the day because the pitcher has to throw it. So they get to decide what they're going to throw because they're the one throwing it. But the catcher makes suggestions. And sometimes I think the catcher will know better because they've been playing in the whole game. But the pitcher has to throw it at the end of the day. So every time you call a pitch, you make a suggestion. And if the pitcher doesn't agree, sometimes I go out and talk to him. If they shake to a pitch that I think is just the wrong pitch no matter what, I'll go out, I'll tell them why. I'll say, I think this is the right pitch and this is why. And most of the time they'll agree with me because I have a reason.
Most of the time.
Not because I'm right, but because I have a reason. But I always say, this is what I think. but you have to throw it. So what do you think? And you put it back in their hands, and then they'll agree with you. But if they don't, they got to throw it. So let them throw it, because I'd
We
rather.
actually got another question here from some of the fans. On a mound visit, is most of it you talking game plan, or is just like just stall when you're there? Or you just like
Most of the time it's game plan. Every once in a while it's stall. If I think the pitcher's doing great and it's just bad luck, then I'll just say, hey, we just got to let the momentum slow down a little bit. But most of the time I'll try to give him a pointer of maybe he's pulling his head, or he's rotating too much, his front shoulder's pulling out.
really?
Yeah.
You mechanically fix a pitcher in the middle of a sequence, in the middle of a pitch,
Well, they have to fix themselves. Again, they have to throw it. But sometimes I can see their arm is dropping or their head's pulling.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're related. Sometimes if I can just give them something to think about, they end up fixing themselves, because they've been working with the pitching coach so much. They know their body better than anyone else. But if I can give them something to think about that's not what just happened, then that's better off than thinking about the double they just threw or something else,
Yeah. Now we're going to go to Shlomo Lippman. Where's Shlomo? Yeah, he is. He's going to unmute him.
What's up, man? I want to know if you could tell the younger guys here, what are the best qualities to have as a catcher to be a pitcher's catcher?
To be a pitcher's catcher, you have to let the pitcher know that you are there to help them, because the pitcher is the most important player on the whole field. And you have to know that. The pitcher is going to either let up runs or stop runs from scoring, and you win the game because you score more runs than you allow. So the pitcher is by far the most important player on the whole field. And your job as a catcher is to make them the best they can be, or to help them be the best that they can be. So sometimes when I go out to the mound, you're just reminding him, like, hey, we're in this together. Like, I'm here with you. It's you and me. Let's do this, both of us, even though it's really on him. But the pitching mound can feel like the loneliest place in the world because it's 9 against 1. But remind him, he's not in it by himself. All of us are in this together. And if you tell him that you're in it together, and you show him that you're in it together by working your butt off to try to frame every pitch and keep every ball in front of you, then he's really going to feel more confident because he knows you're working with him.
Sounds good. Ryan, if you look at guys like Yadier Molina and Buster Posey, like the top guys, what would you say makes them defensively and also with their bat? Like, what's the difference with them?
So defensively, they receive the ball really well. They frame, and everything is in front of them. So they're stealing pitches, but they have the pitcher's confidence. The biggest thing, especially with Yadier Molina, now that he's getting older, he's not physically the best catcher anymore, but he has the reputation of knowing what pitches to call, being a leader. So if you can be a leader for the pitcher, again, he trusts you. He knows that you're going to give him everything you got. It's really the trust that you can build. That's what makes those guys stand out more than anything. And hitting it, because catching is so hard physically, to have any energy left to hit, that's the hardest part.
That's hard. We actually got another star here. Shlomo Lippitz is gonna hop in and join us. How's it going?
Doing great, guys. How you doing? Sorry, I was just.
You got any catch and pitcher
trying
stuff?
to hear some words of wisdom.
Welcome to the club. We all want. Ryan, if you would say you have went through a lot of teams, you had a lot of coaches. Who would like being a catcher is also like being another coach on the field? I heard that being said about like Molina. Who would you say is your best coach and why? Best coach you've had? Name drop. You don't have to.
I really liked playing for Buck Showalter when I was in Baltimore. And
Interesting.
Buck made everyone on the team feel important. Even if you weren't the star player, even if you weren't playing that day or you weren't playing for a whole week, he made you feel like you were still going to be really important on the team. And I think that's important to do on every team, is because everyone knows there's always going to be one guy on the team that doesn't play as much or maybe isn't the best player, but everyone is important no matter what. Everyone that's on that team has a role to play, even if it's cheering from the dugout and helping make everyone else feel confident and bringing the energy. Everyone on the team is important.
That's interesting. You played for the Red Sox in 2013,
Yes.
and were you on the roster?
I was in the dugout for the playoffs. Yeah.
Dugout. What was that like?
I don't play
You
anymore.
want to share that a bit?
I'm sorry. What'd you say?
What was that like?
The World Series was obviously it's everyone. It was my dream come true. The crazy thing was the energy in the stadium from pitch one, even when it wasn't important, you would think important yet in a normal game. Every pitch, the fans were standing the whole game. You could feel the sound that everyone was making. And like when players hitting music was happening, the fans would sing the song for like a minute after the song ended. Like Shane Victorino had Two Little Birds. The whole stadium
The whole stadium?
The whole stadium, especially at home, yeah. And I'm viewing Moriel Zach's screen right now.
Yeah, we're gonna get rid of that now.
It's called Zoom Bomb.
Zoom bomb. We're back on track, Ryan.
There we go. Sorry about that.
We're good. So now we got a question. Liam actually had another question. We'll hop over to Liam. Got to activate Liam. We got questions here in the chat. There was a question. Right, you took part teams on some MLB teams, some minor league teams. What was the best part of like being with Team Israel? How would you talk about that? Was it what you expected? Was it different?
Team Israel for me, I think changed my life because I was at a point where I'd had a bad season the year before. I didn't really love baseball so much anymore.
Really?
I didn't really know who I was anymore because baseball my whole life I had been this great player my whole life. And then I got to Team Israel and everyone on the team just wanted to win. It didn't matter who was up for a new contract. It didn't matter who was about to get released, who had already been released. It didn't matter who was a first rounder, who was playing indie ball. We all just wanted to win. And it was so much fun. And the trip to Israel and everybody being Jewish and the Jewish community, so like I found out who I was as a Jewish person, and it helped me find my Jewish identity. And it reinvigorated my love for baseball. And I think that just playing for Team Israel was probably one of the best experiences of my entire life. Right next to the World Series, Team Israel, it changed me and for the better. And I'm so grateful that I got to do it.
Is there any moment that from Team Israel that like made you that like the team chemistry or hanging out in a restaurant, did anything click that like the moment dropped and like you realized what it was?
Well, when we won that game against Korea and I gave the biggest fist pump of my life and Josh Dodd fist pumped and then we hugged on the field, that would be the most obvious moment that was just like the world freaked out that we won. But in the minicamp, I'm looking at Shlomo and the Northern Lights right now. When I first got to the minicamp in upstate New York, I had flown all day. I had 2 layovers. I was exhausted. I laid down on the hotel bed for a nap, and my phone rings, and I didn't know what to expect. And there's this voice, and he played up a thick accent. He faked it really bad, and he's like, "Hey, we have a IDF briefing for security. Get down here right away." And I'm like panicked. I'm like, "What? I didn't know that we had security for this." And I walked downstairs, and Shlomo's like, "Hey, we're all going to dinner. Let's go." And he joked
cool.
so bad, and we had this team dinner at like a really dive diner, and just right away, right as soon as I got there, I was ready to fall asleep. We were a team right from that point, and Shlomo took the lead on making us a team. I appreciate that, Shlomo. That I still think about that phone call and that dinner all the time.
Flo, do you have anything about that? Do you want to share? Wait, I'm trying to unmute you. Do you want to share anything about that moment?
Yeah, I mean, I remember that moment vividly in the hotel where I was calling and I think saying we have some security briefing. I mean, that was, I would say that was our secret sauce. Remember, 2017 came after the very disappointing 2012 moment where we didn't qualify and we lost to Spain in extra innings. And our first team meeting on the field, everyone introduced themselves. And to have someone like Cody Decker and someone like Josh Zide, who were part of the 2012 disappointing team, and say to everyone on the field, hey, the only reason I stayed in baseball for 4 years was to try to redeem myself. And we had 4 or 5 players like that. That immediately set the tone on, whoa, especially for other minor leaguers who, as Ryan could attest, is such a grind to even imagine someone staying in that environment for 4 more years just to be able to redeem themselves. That put everyone in the same kind of plane as far as we have a chip on the shoulder. No one's expecting us to win, and there's no egos. And there are definitely some players who had some big league time, like Ryan, who he knows it himself. He has had a reputation of someone who maybe standoffish, maybe in some ways. And for those cats to immediately be into that, okay, we're all on the same. There's no big league time. Doesn't matter. Everyone's really was a big part of the success. I think if you ask any big major leaguer, they'll tell you that the vibe in the locker room is not really great. There's camps and people have more experience, and and then there's the rookies who are treated like shit. None of that exists. We have one goal, and again, that for me was ultimate goal. And like Ryan mentioned about the intensity of the pitch, I mean, when you have someone with major league experience or been playing baseball for years tell you that they have not played in a high intensity game like this since college or high school, where every pitch counts. If you watch TV and you see a major league game, half the team is, taking some hacks and, behind screens. Half of them are, doing stuff that has nothing to do with baseball. And during the World Classic, everyone was on the fence, zeroed in, and makes the game much more interesting. And I think allows everyone to be in a much higher level of intensity.
Sounds good. Sounds interesting. Now we're gonna go to Josh. Josh, talk to us, Josh.
I wanted to know, how do you stay ready in the game if you're coming off the bench and you're not starting? And what mindset do you need to have and preparedness before the game as well?
As far as like if you might pinch hit, or if like someone
defensively.
Okay, so I think I've played a lot of American League baseball where there's a DH and there's no pinch hitting, so you don't really feel locked in a lot to get to be in the game. And I think when I first got called up to the majors, I wasn't ready to get to go in the game because I figured if I wasn't starting, I wasn't playing. And since then, I've played a lot more National League baseball where there is a chance you're going to pinch hit. I think you have to try to anticipate in your mind when is the point when you might come in. Who could you pinch hit for and when? Because you can't be on the bench and stay ready the entire game just to be disappointed. This inning I didn't go in, this inning I didn't go in. That's mentally exhausting. And then by the time you get in, now you're too tired, right? So I think anticipate when you might go in and try to get ready before that. But don't, I think it's impossible to stay so ready the whole game. I don't think that's realistic, but play the coach in your mind.
Sounds good. Now go with Svi Meister. He's got a question.
Yeah. What is the biggest moment like in your career, and why?
So I have two homer games in the majors. One was this year. It was my debut with the Reds this year. I hit 2 home runs and 6 RBIs.
I remember that.
but we ended up losing the game because we gave up 10 runs to the Cardinals in the 6th inning. So I would say that's my best game, but we lost. And again, being great on your own is one thing, but winning as a team is better. So I'd say back in 2011, I hit 2 home runs for the Red Sox. It was the second to last game of the year, and we were tied for the playoffs. And I had that great game, and we won. And we still tied for the playoffs. That was probably my biggest moment. And then we lost the game. It sucks, but that day was good.
Josh actually forgot to say something, so we'll go back to Josh.
I just wanted to know, like, if you do get pinch hit, do they tell you like the inning before, like, hey, get ready, you might come in next inning, or do they tell you like you're on deck, get your bat?
So it's a little bit like being a bullpen pitcher. They might give you warning, and sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. If the pitcher's coming up like first or second, I've had coaches say, Ryan, if it's a left-handed pitcher, you're going to pinch hit, and Josh, if maybe you hit left-handed. If it's a right-handed pitcher, you're going to hit, and then it depends on what pitcher comes in for the other team. Or there's also been a situation where the pitcher's up 6th, and we're down by 2, and if we don't score, then that pitcher's going to go back out. But if we do score, then now we want to bring in our closer. So the situations in the game change where you have to be ready, and then you might not go in, or sometimes you get caught off guard, like, hey, grab a bat, you're on deck, we just scored, or we weren't anticipating that guy hitting a grand slam, so now you're up. But sometimes they try to give you warning, but the game changes sometimes, and sometimes you just get caught off guard. That's why you anticipate in your mind, like, hey, I might pinch it for the 7th hitter this inning, I got to be ready. But if he doesn't get up, I'm not going to be disappointed. You know what I mean? So you try to anticipate in your mind when you can.
Lomo, what'd you got? Talk to us.
Oh, here we go. All right, we're good. Sorry, I have to unmute myself. Ryan, I want to go back to talking about that unit between a pitcher and a catcher, and really kind of so we talked about.
I lost him.
We lost him. Well, basically, I think what he's going to want, he wants to talk more about the relationship between a pitcher. If you do have you said you do control when it comes from the dugout, but if you have a disagreement, how would you react to that if you're not on the same page?
Ultimately, the pitcher's got to throw the ball. So the pitcher has the last chance. All I can do is try to make a suggestion and tell him my reasoning behind it, but he's got to throw it. So if he doesn't agree with me, then I got to tell him that, you know what, let's go with what you got. I believe in you. I think that you're right. Even though if I don't think he's right, he's got to know that I'm with him no matter what. It's kind of like agree to disagree. Let's go with your gut, and let's just go with it, because the pitcher's got to throw the ball.
And for most of the guys who are younger, and I don't know if there's pitch calling now, what age would you say did you start calling the game?
I think I've always called the game since I was a kid.
Really?
That's the only way you can learn. That's the only way you can learn. You have to learn how to read swings. But I know coaches coaches feel like their knowledge, they want to call it. They
want to call it, yeah.
I understand. But I've never been a coach of a youth team to like feel the heartbreak of knowing I could have called the different pitch. But I don't know if there's a happy medium where you could call it and you could maybe explain to them why, or you could let them call it and then explain why something else later. But I think the best way to learn is to do it and then to learn from your mistakes and from your successes.
Interesting. Did you always start as a catcher, or was it like you just like hopped on field when you were 5 years old, like, hey, I want to catch where the shin guards? It was like once I'm 16, I got to catch now, I can't play shortstop?
I was 7 years old, and I was the only one that wasn't afraid to catch. So they put me back there, and I caught all the way till high school. And then there was someone in my grade in high school that was better at catcher, so I had to play outfield so I could play. And then in college, I started catching again.
Cool. Now we're going to go to Liam. Where's Liam? Liam's got a question for us. Talk to us, bro.
Okay, if if you could go like back in time to you as a child, would you change your mentality or work on something different?
Baseball wise, no. I think I did pretty good that way. I used to run distance. I used to run like miles and miles and miles at a time. I know it's hard to imagine. But I'm a very, very slow runner now, which doesn't help with baseball. I could go run 5 miles right now, and I haven't run in a year, and it would be no problem. But I can't beat out a ground ball to first base. So I would work on trying to be faster, I think, if I could change anything. Ruben, I see your hand up.
Ruben, we're gonna go to Ruben now. Yeah.
Awesome. 2 questions. So one, when the pitching coach comes out to talk to the pitcher, what exactly goes on in that meeting?
It's pretty much the same as when I go to the mound without him. He either has a mechanical tip that he wants to say, like, hey, you're pulling your head or you're turning or something like that. Or he has a sports psychology kind of like, hey, relax, slow your heart rate down. Or he has a tip for the next hitter, like, hey, this guy's not very good at curveballs, or this guy can't hit a pitch inside, so let's do that. And most times it's a combination of the 3. Hey, your mechanics are doing this. Slow yourself down. Let's reset, and let's attack this next hitter this way. So it's basically the same as when I try to do it, and it's good because me and the pitching coach can then agree on the same thing, and then the pitcher's being reinforced with 2 voices that hopefully he trusts.
And my next question is, who's the best pitcher you ever caught?
The best pitcher I ever caught. The most frustrating, but also the best, probably was Clay Buchholz. I say frustrating because he liked to shake every single pitch. So I'd have to put this one, no, this one over here, no, this one over here, no, this one over here, no, no. And it felt like every time it was the last one I wanted to call. But he was so talented that he could make the ball do this, he could make the ball do this, he could make the ball do anything he wanted to. So he was most talented, but also most frustrating.
If we follow up to that question, there are pitchers like that, because let's say now when you were with Cincinnati, you had more dirt underneath your spikes. Did you feel like that you control the game more sometimes than like an older pitcher, a veteran guy? Did he control more when you were younger?
Yes. Now that I have more dirt under my spikes and I'm older, I definitely get more respect, especially from guys I don't know, because I've changed teams so many times. I don't have like years of history with individual pitchers, so the like personal relationship isn't there all the time yet. But I get they trust me because I've been there, and I've caught 100 different guys, and I've caught for 12 years pro now. So there's more trust embedded, as opposed to when I was younger, I had to earn more trust before it got there. But I still try to earn the trust as much as I can in person. But I'd say I start from a
and that doesn't matter. Israel baseball, minor league baseball, MLB, that same mentality.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also now one of the older guys on the team.
Those guys, yeah. You're respected already. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not the young, pimply-faced prospect anymore.
Now we can go to Mr. Sachs. Talk to us.
I have a question that is, what's your favorite team player, and what's your favorite team that you played for?
My favorite player, Josh Zaid, is one of my best friends now. As far as not on Team Israel, Ryan Dempster was absolutely a hilarious guy to play with. He would hold team meetings wearing just a jockstrap and sneakers. He was always funny. One time he was walking over to the shower, and he was in a towel, and he yelled at someone. He said, "Hey, have you seen my pen?" And they're like, "No." He's like, "Oh, you stole my pen." And then he took his towel off and walked to the shower, and his pen was hanging out of his butt crack. Just a funny guy, always making everybody laugh. So he was my favorite teammate. And then on team that I played for, I think a lot of the teams I played for are good at different things, but winning the World Series was the best. You can't top that. So I got to say the Red Sox.
Sounds good. Who else got a question here? You got catching prospect.
So I got a couple questions. Me myself, I'm a pretty small catcher. Sometimes I get crossed up. Do you have any tips to avoid that?
You're getting crossed up?
Yeah.
Whose fault is it? Is it your fault that you forgot what pitch you called, or did the pitcher not see?
I'm pretty small, so people like on a big field, so they like kind of can't see the sign.
They can't see your fingers?
Yeah.
What nail polish?
Whiteout? Yeah, whiteout or white nail polish helps. They make stickers now that are glow in the dark that you can put, because I know the lights on that field aren't great. Also, you could go to a tap system where you could, you go like this a bunch of times, and it's either the first touch or the second touch, third touch, last touch, whatever. And then, if you can't see this, something you need glasses or contacts or something. So you could come up with a system.
Sorry about that.
Touch my knee here, fastball that side, or curveball, whatever. You could come up with different systems to make sure they could see.
That's great. If we're talking about signs, do you go like through different sequences, or do you have every pitcher the same sign, different signs for guys on base? If we dig deep a bit into signs.
Most pitchers have one or two that they like, and they get stuck in their ways. Like, I always go second sign after one, or chase the three. But now that the whole Houston Astros were stealing.
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask you about that.
What they do now is they'll give you a little piece of paper. They give every pitcher a piece of paper, and the pitchers put it in their pocket, or they keep it right there in their hat.
Yeah, a lot of times you see guys with their hats.
Yeah, they take it out of their hat, and they have the piece of paper in their hat, and they look at it, and on the hat and the paper it'll have 5 different signs, and like the first sign will be sign after 2, and the computer generates 5 different ones every day, so it's totally random. Nobody can steal it. The Astros can't use their computer program.
The Astros can't use it.
And then
is this with only guys on base?
And only with guys on second base, yeah. But then the catcher will a lot of times have a wristband, like a wristband, and the catcher's wristband and the pitcher's hat will have the same 5 sequences. So you go number 3, okay, that's chase 2, or chase 4, or you can go 4, and now it's outs plus 1 or something.
Sounds interesting. That's good. That's deep. I like that. And we go back to Josh.
Anti-spyware.
Josh, what do you got?
I had something connected to the signs. I want 2 questions. One, how much more? Well, I guess you answered that. Like, complicated signs are there between high school, college, and professional leagues?
So when I was in high school, we used 2 as fastball and 1 as curveball. And we did up and in is location number 1, up and away is location number 2, down and in is location number 3, and down and away is location number 4. So when someone was on second, we would give the pitch and the location. So I remember 2-4 meant fastball away, and we would just go 2-4, and we never got our sign stolen, because fastball is number 1 to everybody in the world, and we never put a 1 down. So they're like, wait a second, what's happening? Nobody ever stole our signs. If we want a curveball, 1-4 fastball down and away, or 2-1 fastball up and in. So it was very simple, but it never got stolen, because it was just you want it to be simple enough for everyone on your team to understand it, but complicated enough so the other team doesn't break it.
And I also had a question. When you're on second base, because you're a catcher, does that help you relay signs to the batter? And do you like when people relay signs to you?
Yes, when I'm on second base, I feel like I can steal the signs in 2 pitches every time. It's very easy. But most teams that I'm on actually don't have a way to relay it to the hitter. So a lot of times when I'm on second, I'll steal the signs and I'll give a signal, and the signal that I'm giving is for the other team, because my team won't even know what I'm giving. But I want the other team to worry about it, because if they're worrying about me stealing signs, they're not focused as much on making a good pitch. And then when I was with the Yankees last year, they were really good at picking up tips from the pitcher. So if the pitcher came set here one time and then came set here another time, they would be able to steal the signs from what the pitcher's body was doing, and we could whistle from the on deck circle. So that was another way that we signaled signs. And
you'd actually really?
Some guys whistled, or some guys would call your number or call your nickname, like, here we go 2-4, or let's go Varney, and you'd know something was coming.
We got a question here. Some people asking, why did pitchers and catchers report earlier in spring training, and what do you do during spring training?
So the pitchers and the catchers report earlier because they want to get the pitcher's arms in shape and stretched out. It's really for the pitchers. Again, the pitchers are the
more for them.
People on the team, and we want to keep their arms healthy and in shape. So they try to build the pitchers up slowly. So that extra 10 days at the beginning is to get the pitcher's arm strength there.
Are you only catching bullpens, or are you also doing your own catcher drills during that time?
We're also doing catching drills and hitting, but that's just because we're there.
Yeah.
We're really there for the pitchers.
Pitcher's best friend. We got a question from Daniel. Talk to us.
What is your opinion about the Astros cheating?
Oof. Bad news bears. I think they should have the World Series taken away from them.
Yeah.
I think they should. They cheated. I mean, you know what? Everyone, there's a line. Everyone tries to steal signs from second base, and if the pitcher is giving something away, everyone's trying to do that. But using a computer and special cameras to do it is crossing the line.
You like the answer? We got another question here. Another one from Sax.
How many home runs did you hit in the MLB?
I think I only have like 10 in the MLB, maybe 9 or 10, but I have like 100 and something in the minors. Not enough to be rich yet.
Not enough. Did you keep the first one?
I think I gave it to my mom.
Gave it to you. That's nice.
Yeah. So I hit my first home run in Baltimore, and a second later, they threw a ball back on the field, but it was a delay, and the guy that works in the clubhouse went back and watched the TV broadcast, saw who caught it, and saw that the guy was a famous, not famous, but like a notorious. He comes in batting practice.
Zach Campbell, no?
He gets a bunch of batting practice balls and keeps them in his backpack. So he caught my home run ball, ran to his backpack, and threw a batting practice ball back onto the field just because he wanted to throw a ball back. But then they went to the guy and I signed the bat. I said, "Thanks for my ball back," and he traded that ball for a bat.
That's good. That happens a lot.
Yeah.
Who's got a question? We got Ruben. Another question. Yes, Ruben.
Question. So, what's the difference between like catching minor league pitchers, and major league pitchers? Is there a big difference?
The biggest difference I'd say is minor league pitchers make more mistakes that are hittable. Big league pitchers, if they're going to make a mistake, it's a pitch that can't get hit very hard.
And one more question. Have you ever had a situation where, I don't know, you called like a curveball, but the pitcher accidentally threw a fastball or something like that? Have you ever had a situation like that?
Yeah, I hate that. I mean, they don't do it on purpose. They're not trying to kill you. You go out to the mound, you make sure like, hey, who messed that sign up, you or me? Okay, let's not do that again.
Hey, Ryan. Just want to tell you thanks. Appreciate it a lot. Thanks for dropping some knowledge and sharing your personal stories, especially the Ryan Dempster story. I like that a lot.
Hey, before you guys go, I just started a new Facebook group. I'm going to do some catching exercises.
Cool.
Do at home in the backyard. It's called Quarantine Challenge Catchers.
Someone could drop it
I'll
in
drop
the
it.
chat.
Yeah, if you wanna, I'm just gonna do like 5 or 10 minutes a day, starting maybe tomorrow.
Quarantine
Perfect.
challenge, catchers.
You guys stuff that we could do some drills at home together. I'll go live on Facebook once a day, and you could try to do some drills with me if you guys are interested.
What's it called, Ryan? I'll put it up here on the chat.
Called Quarantine Challenge Catchers.
All right, on Facebook.
On Facebook.
Yeah,
Here,
there you go.
Everybody, give him a follow. Go watch it tomorrow.
We'll share.
You No members yet, so you guys will be the first ones.
There you go.
We'll work out together.
But yeah, Ryan,
Thanks, Ryan.
I'll jump in and say thank you, Nathan, for hosting it. Thank you, Ryan. Guys, catching, I mean, Ryan said the pitcher is the most important position. It's somewhat true, but he can't do anything without a good catcher. So it's just as important, in my opinion. It's known the catchers are the smartest players on the field by far. So happy to get all this knowledge. I'm happy again you guys are joining and are able to make the most out of our situation here, and our Olympic players are jumping in to help us out with that. Again, wish you all a good weekend. We're coming here Sunday. We'll be here with Ian Kinsler. You don't want to miss out on that. Should be fun. Get to ask him some questions. Our newest member for the Olympic team. And that's it, Ryan. I don't know. You have any last words of wisdom to share with them?
I see Marty Zax has a question.
Who is it? Who's got it?
Got a question.
Marty.
You have a question.
Marty.
Yes.
What's up?
יש לך שאלה, מוטי? No?
Type your question in.
Yeah, wait.
Or Max has a question.
Oh yeah, he's yeah. Where's Max?
Max.
I'm here.
Who's this? Talk to us. Last question. Last question. We're gonna log off.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So in the summer, we're supposed to be traveling to the championship, to the European Championship, and I wanted to know from a preparation perspective, how many days of consecutive baseball training would you say in terms of throwing every day, hitting every day, would you suggest for the team altogether so that we're prepared the best? So I guess, comparing it to spring training, how many days it takes you to prepare in physical condition.
I would say at least 2 weeks. Normally you go out and swing, you feel great, and then you swing the next day, you feel great, and then on day 3, your body is like, oh, what am I doing to myself? But you got to overcome that. You got, day 3, day 4, day 5 don't feel very good, and then by day 7, 8, you start to feel a little bit better. So I'd say give yourself. I don't know that you need to throw heavy every single day right away, but build up to where you can do 4 or 5 days in a row and it doesn't hurt. Maybe I'm getting old. I don't know.
Hey, Ryan, I just want to say thanks. Hopefully we'll see you in Israel this winter or this summer, and let's bring a gold medal back.
Yeah, that would be super cool, won't it?
Yeah, well.
Let's get it.
All right,
Thanks, everybody. Have a good day. Bye, man. Thank you. Thanks.